If you're ready to experience more peace and joy in your life, if you want to feel more comfortable in your own skin, and if you're ready to discover and expand on your energetic gifts and personal power, you're in the right place. So here's your host, Kelle Sparta.
Welcome back to Spirit Guides. I'm your host, Kelle Sparta, transformational shaman, spiritual coach. I'm here as always on Mondays with my friend and student, Joshua Radawan. He is a spiritual coach specializing in the paranormal, or rather in working with people who work in the paranormal world. So if you're out there and you're listening, you need some help. Okay. Talk to him.
I'm here to bring the
All right.
razzle-dazzle back to your life.
So today we're going to talk about psychic abilities, or am I just really nosy? The ethics of magic. And so, yeah, this is always a fun one because ethics are a challenge for people sometimes with magic because we don't define them, right? So rule number one is you don't read somebody's mind without their permission. Rule number one. Okay. Reading somebody's aura, that's something different. Your aura is like the clothes you're wearing. So that's ethically okay because, I put these clothes on for you to see, right? So, I knew you were going to see them when I put them on. Anything I'm emanating out of my energy field is fair game. Okay. But reading somebody's mind, not okay without permission. And reading somebody's future, not okay without their permission, right? But then this happens accidentally, right? It happens all the time. I remember years ago, oh my God, this would have been like 1999 maybe. I was sitting at a psychic fair. I was going to be a reader there. And this woman walks in behind me and I can feel her rooting around in my brain. And she's going, is she any good? Is she any good? Is she any good? And she's like rooting around in my brain. And I turned around and I looked at her. I said, yes, I'm very good. Now stop that. She was like, what? I said, stop rooting around in my brain. It is not okay. And she was like, oh. And, which of course tells you my shield sucked. Actually, I didn't have any shields up because I didn't know they didn't work because I didn't have my energy field pulled in because I didn't understand the Boundaries for Empaths concept. By the way, if you haven't gotten the free download Boundaries for Empaths, you should go do that. It's not a free download. It's a free e-course. I keep saying that. It's a free e-course on the website. So kellesparta.com, click on the blog. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the Boundaries for Empaths link. Free e-course. You should absolutely do it. Everybody who's listening here should do that course because you're probably all empaths and you need this. So I needed it, but I didn't have it at the time. So she could root around in my brain. And I was just like, right? So, she was a very powerful psychic and had no idea. So she was doing this completely unconsciously. Okay? So, I'm talking about rules here, but sometimes we don't do things consciously. The other thing to know is that if you're doing any sort of energetic working on somebody's behalf without their permission, that's actually black magic. So, and that's no matter what the intent. Okay. We think black magic is, having negative intent for somebody. No. Black magic is substituting your will for someone else's. And that is whether you have positive or negative intent for them. So if you do not have their permission to offer them a blessing, you're doing black magic. If you're doing prayers for peace, that's black magic if you're doing it for somebody who's not you, right? If you are, and I know I'm blowing people's brains right now. If you are doing healing work for somebody who hasn't given you permission to do healing work, that's black magic, okay? All of these things, if you are substituting your will for the will of the other person, that's black magic. I have a person I know here right now, and they're having some health issues, and I have offered to do some healing work for them, and they have specifically not said yes. And I'm like, I can't do it unless you say yes. And they didn't. They said, let me think about it. I'll take positive thoughts. And I'm like, not the same thing, but okay. So positive thoughts it is. That's all I'm allowed to give. Therefore, that's all I'm offering. And here's the reason why. If anybody's ever taken a Reiki class from a reputable Reiki master, you will know that if you heal something for someone that they are not ready to heal, they will manifest something worse for their journey. Every experience we have is part of our journey. I actually saw a TikTok this morning where the guy got a profound message as he was walking in the park because a woman's happened to say something to her son as she was walking by, and it was exactly the message he needed to hear. And it said, "The obstacles in your path are your path." And I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. And that's exactly what we're talking about for this. The obstacles in your path are your path. If you take that obstacle away before that person has gotten the lesson that they needed from it, they will manifest something bigger and badder to give them the lesson that they missed. So this is the thing about ethics and, magic, is that you really need to ask, right? And that's true also if you're doing, protections on your home. Everybody thinks, oh, well, I'll just rip everything off that somebody doesn't belong to them. Like, no, you can keep the thing from coming into your house, but it's not appropriate for you to take somebody's riders that are interacting with them and get rid of them unless that person has asked. And if it's a passive ward on your house, or an active ward on your house, and they're just walking through the door and they don't know they're opting in, that's not okay, right? Sometimes people have agreements with things. Sometimes people are being, cohabitated. They got two souls in one body, and that's an agreement that they've made in this life. You don't know what their agreements are. You don't know what their situation is, and it's not up to you to quote unquote fix it, right? This is one of the biggest challenges that we have in the spiritual world, is that pretty much everybody who ends up in this world is codependent in some fashion. And the need to save others is massive, right? We must save everyone. And really, really, really what we're trying to do is save ourselves. So I would highly encourage you to refocus on saving yourself and let everybody else be the sovereign beings that they are, right? Because when we take responsibility for someone else, when we put our will in front of theirs, what we're saying is they're not capable of taking care of themselves. We are actively placing an intent of their incapability, their inability to manage their own situation onto them, which is damaging. We're doing damage. So we want to make sure that when we do this stuff, that we're doing it ethically. Yeah, I could talk. Ethically. And, that's one of the reasons why the Long Island medium drives me crazy. Because, she just walks up to random people with a camera on and starts talking about stuff. It's like, there's no permission there, right? I was just like, oh my God. First off, you're reading and whatever. But, I mean, with mediumship, it's a little different because the ghost is coming to you first, right? In her scenario, the ghost is coming to her first. And so she's operating with the permission of the ghost, but not necessarily with the permission of the person she's doing the read for. These sorts of things, right? And so when, this is one of the hardest things. It is one of the hardest things. And, when people come to me, they're like, I'm worried about my husband. I'm worried about my child. I'm worried about whatever, right? There are certain things that I can pick up from the relationship between the two of them. But and sometimes the higher self of the person will come through and share information with me, but I can't go into the person's energy field without their permission, right? I mean, could I? Yes. But will I? No. That is unethical. It's not appropriate.
Yeah. It's interesting. I had a reading last week. Mercury retrograde, right? Just coming. We were hot and heavy in the middle of it, right? So a lot of these relationship issues, a lot of communication breaking down. And a woman asked me, she's like, can you tell me if my ex is going to get his karma? I was like, no. I was like, I don't feel good about that. I would say, just look at how his life is currently and kind of pick it up for yourself, but, and now I understand it would have been unethical to look at that. And that's the first time that anybody had asked me that particular question. I want to go back a little bit to talking about how it is we inadvertently read people's minds, because this is something that is interesting to me on a personal level, because I pick up on shit all the time. I won't even be focusing on it, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, this started happening back in 2011 before I'd ever even stepped on this path, right? Like, but it was always the vibration of love, though, right? It was like I could hear my significant other of the time I didn't even know, actually. I was just walking away from her. And I said, I love you too. And she's like, I didn't even say that out loud. I was like, oh, well, that's fucking odd. And I didn't think twice about it. I was like, I guess I can read minds. I don't know. But I was, in a different place in my life, so I didn't really give it too much second thought until, 7 years down the road when my awakening started happening.
So I want to mention that probably wasn't reading her mind. That was probably reading her energy field.
Yeah.
Because when we partner, and as we're codependent, energetically, we mix our energy field with the other person's. And so oftentimes, especially with emotions, it's very easy to pick up the other person's emotions because we are literally, swimming in the soup of them, right? And so it's very easy to do that. You will pick up on thoughts over time as well. Jeff, I think things all the time and he hands them to me. So, but this is because we're open to that. There is open permission to that, right? And so there's no lack of ethics there because we have an agreed upon connection in that regard. But I want to go back to the, will my ex get his karma question, because there's another layer to that, right? Which is that, what she was looking for was retribution. And she was very much in her victim state. And anytime you do magic from a victim state, you're going to end up with black magic coming out. Okay. Righteousness is a victim state too, by the way. So if you feel righteous, if you are right and you are solid in your rightness and that's a victim state. And therefore you will end up with black magic. If you are trying to make someone love you, if you are trying to make someone do anything, that is a victim state. It's a black magic thing, right? So now, what isn't black magic, right? So so let me give you two scenarios, okay? You are trying to get a job, okay? And you want to manifest this particular job. It would be black magic to try and force your will on the person who is the hiring manager. Okay, that's black magic, to say, you're going to pick me, right? What is not black magic is I'm going to make my resume very bright and shiny. I'm going to make it very attractive. I am acting on the resume, not on the person, right? You see the difference? So I'm acting on the resume. I'm going to make it bright and shiny. I am going to hold the vision of the outcome being that I get the job, no matter how it comes. Right? So maybe it's the hiring manager, maybe it's the CEO looks at your resume out of the blue and catches it and goes, oh, this person, maybe somebody refers me in. I don't care how, but I'm going to hold the outcome that I have the job. I can hear myself getting the phone call and the job being mine, right? That is not black magic. That is intention setting and holding an intention for yourself. And then the universe delivers in whatever way it can, given the circumstances and whose intentions are what, right? And so, and of course, you always say this or something better. So if there is no inroad there for some reason, then the universe will give you something better, right? So this is how you don't do black magic that involves other people, right?
So I love to tell personal stories on here because that's where I teach from, like it's
Yep.
So this is kind of a magical mishap. It was also an ethic violation, but really I was conscious but unconscious of what was about to happen. This is one of those weeks I was in deep meditation, like 60 hours a week, I would say. And I was just in a lot of deep healing meditations, just really trying to connect to myself and really, release and surrender. It was a really, really tough week for me. This is about 2021, I believe it was. And I went into this, I'd never worked with this specific angel before, and it was Raziel. And he's, one of them that is connected to, the more magic and psychic abilities. And I shit you not, about 15 minutes into that meditation, I am out of my body and in the room with this other person, and I'm watching something that I did not want to watch. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. And then I didn't meditate for a while because I was like, this sucks. Like I didn't want. And this is also, tied into how I limited my power for a while. Like I didn't allow myself to have those visions because I was scared of what I was going to see. So, but like, do these things how do they happen inadvertently? How do these things happen in that way?
Well, I mean, that sort of thing could simply be, I wonder how so and so's doing. And if you're in a meditative state and you're already out of your body, you could very easily just go travel, right? A random thought can drag you into that space. This is why we have to learn how to discipline our minds when we do stuff like this, is because a random thought can drag you in weird directions. And a random thought in the middle of a manifestation can drag the manifestation in bizarre directions, right? So this is one of the reasons why we cultivate focus and stillness, is to avoid these sorts of random things. And sometimes it's the person is reaching out to you. That could be the case too. Is, you're in a meditative state, you're already, in a altered consciousness, the person has a thought about you, they tap into your energy and you go, yep, and suddenly you're there, right?
It's a violation of my ethics.
Yeah, so, yeah, and that can happen too, especially, if somebody's in a, I'm assuming that you caught them having sex with somebody. You didn't say it, but
that is
that's what it sounds like.
There was more to it, like I also was like, because I was like, is this real? And I'm like this, and her fucking hair moved, and I was like, oh, and I was like, that's fucking weird. And we talked after that, and she's like, that actually happened. I was like, well, that's concerning.
Well, and if the person is fantasizing about you during a sexual encounter, then that is a very powerful pull too. That could also be part of it, right? So, there are strange things that happen when you get into this stuff. I mean, I remember I was 16 and I had a boyfriend at the time who was practicing, trying to get in contact with me. And he was in Hawaii at the time and I was in California. And I was in bed, and out of the blue, I heard his voice right next to my ear, full voice, not like yelling, but like just talking in a normal voice in the middle of my sleep into my ear, going, Kelle. I'm like, because I was in bed, and I'm like, what the fuck? Who's talking in my ear? And there was nobody there, but I poked him the next day. And I'm like, what? Did you do something? He's like, yes. I said, don't do that again. You scared the crap out of me.
That stuff happens to me and Cassie all the time still. She'd been gone for like 2 weeks, and I knew she was coming back that night, and I got up at midnight, and I'm like, ring, in my ear, and I was like, oh. And I just get up, and I'm like, then she pulled right in. I was like, hi. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And that happens quite frequently between the two of us.
Yeah. Every time Jeff is out with the car for any length of time, I like a minute and a half before he pulls into the road, I'm like, where are you? I don't think about it at all. And then a minute and a half before he's here, it's like I feel him hit, and I'm like, oh, where are you? And he's like, I'm right here. Like, he'll find the message as he's getting out of the car in the driveway, right? Every time. So, yeah. When we have partners, we feel them more deeply, right? We can feel that more significantly, especially if they're energetically aware too. So, back to the ethics, right? So, rule of thumb, get permission from both parties. If it's going to impact more than one person, you need permission from everyone, which means love spells, black magic. Okay? Cut that shit out. If you have to do a spell on somebody to make them love you, you are chasing the wrong person. You deserve somebody who actually wants you, not somebody you have to spell into wanting you. There are 8 billion people on the planet. I promise you there's somebody who will love you better. Okay? Let's just go there. And then, anything where you're trying to manipulate anybody, black magic. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. I mean, you're absolutely welcome to do black magic. Just know that there are chances that it's going to blow back on you. And, it is what it is. So, if other people are buying into your black magic, okay. But, this is the thing, is that you need to know what you're putting out so that you know what you're attracting back, because like attracts like. So if you're putting out manipulation and black magic, even if it's with positive intent, that's what you will get back. So this is a mind your own business, mind your own energy, mind your own manifestations, right? Everybody else's is their responsibility, not yours. And that includes larger scale stuff. Okay? If you stay focused on you and you stay focused on your intent, if everybody did that, then we would jointly manifest a better reality. Okay? But if we're trying to manipulate and control others, that's going to create more manipulation and control. Okay? And that's even if we're trying to manipulate and control for a better reality. Because they are mutually exclusive. Manipulation and control is not a better reality. Right? What you're putting out is what you're drawing in. So that's the thing. Focus on yourself. Focus on increasing your own manifestations. Focus on increasing your own evolution. Focus on being your best self, your most authentic self, and allow other people to do the same. That is the creation of the better reality. Because when everyone feels like they are welcome to bring their full selves to the picture, everyone feels welcome, everyone feels wanted, everyone feels valued. Now that's a better society. We don't have people in pain. We don't have people who are upset. We don't have people who feel like they're manipulated and controlled. We don't have any of that, right? Because we have chosen the path of higher vibration. And this is where things get stuck, is that we grow up in environments where we are manipulated and controlled and we feel unsafe, and therefore we try and manipulate and control to make everyone feel safe. But the actuality of everyone feeling safe is actually not being manipulated and controlled to shift reality to something else. The actuality of everyone feeling safe is everyone allowing everyone to be who they are, right? And everyone minding their own business and doing their own stuff and manifesting for their own reality, not trying to impact other people, right? That's how you actually make a safer world. And so, we often come in with these positive intents of, I'm going to heal this and I'm going to fix that and I'm going to raise this and whatever. It's all manipulation and control. Okay? And if you want the world to change, be the change. Gandhi had it right, okay? Be the change. If you are the person who allows everyone else to be who they are without judgment, with compassion, then this is how you impact the world. When you do that, you free others to do that, and then it expands, right? But you don't try to make them do that. You just be yourself, okay? Yeah, that's the hard part. I waited till the end for the hard part. So for those of you who are still here, good job. because that's the thing, right? It's like, it'll listen to the whole episode sometimes to get the nugget, right? But this is what I'm talking about when we talk about the ethics of magic, okay? Anything you want to add to the mix here, Josh?
Oh, no one follows the killer. That was a great way to end it. I got nothing.
All right, and if you're curious where your blocks are in your current level of evolution, if you're looking to up-level yourself, don't forget that we do the spiritual evolution energy reviews, and you've heard them on the Friday Ascend programs probably by now. We do that both for your personal life and for your business, and they're a great way to get unstuck if you're stuck. So those can be found on kellesparta.com or on spiritguideschool.com and in the services section. So, and I'm going to remind you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and rate so that you can get a reading for free if you want it, right? You might be able to get that if you do that, and send in your review for us to support@kellesparta.com, and you can enter yourself to see if you can get a free reading. And thank you so much. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, go to Spirit Guides podcast.com, and you can record a voice message, or you can send an email to Kelle at kellesparta.com, and I will get your email with any questions that you might have. So we will talk to you next time. Have a great one, and don't forget, what you focus on is what expands, and what you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.
So that's it for today's episode of Spirit Guides Podcast. Head on over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on iTunes will be entered into a drawing for a $10,000 value grand prize and a private reading with Kelle Sparta herself. Be sure to head on over to spiritguidespodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Kelle's gift and join us on the next episode.